This is the Forbes Books podcast, conversations with remarkable folks who are impacting the world of business and beyond. Hola, I am Joe Pardavila, and my guest this week is Ashley Connell, a true trailblazer, both as an entrepreneur and as an advocate for women in business. As the CEO and founder of Prowess Project, Ashley is on a mission to help caregiving women successfully return to the workforce. Leveraging her 15 years of experience in tech marketing, Ashley has built Prowess Project into an integrated platform that provides job training, community support, and customized job matching for women looking to restart their careers. Now, before we dive in, I gotta say, I've talked to about 200 entrepreneurs in the last few years, and it seems like every single one of them is based in Austin. And of course, Ashley is no exception. Ashley, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Joe, I've been so excited to be here. I can't wait.
I'm glad you're excited to be here. You sound excited to be here. I love it. So I want to start by talking about the name of your company, Prowess Project. Prowess to me, because you'll come to find out during this conversation, I'm not very bright. But prowess is one of those words that we know but can't define. It's like define abstract. Like how do you put a definition to abstract? Like, so prowess to me is like, prowess, I kind of get the idea, and I actually Googled it. So it's a skill or expertise in a particular activity or field. So I was completely transparent there. I didn't say I knew that. I looked it up and Google told me. So tell me about the importance of calling the company the Prowess Project.
We decided on Prowess Project because it was all about skill, all about the idea that women have these hard skills and soft skills that they weren't being compensated for, weren't being recognized for, and that they should be. But what's so interesting about the word prowess is the second definition. The second definition is bravery in battle. And the mission behind Prowess Project is to help women have a fulfilling career and time for family. And that has been a battle for women from, the dawn of time. And so we know that this is going to be an ongoing mission for us so that we reach gender parity. And so that secondary definition was definitely part of the naming as well.
I should have skipped ahead to the second definition and avoided that first definition. But as you, like I said, not very bright, Ashley. So take me through the day-to-day. Like if I were to randomly run into you in an elevator and you're pitching me, maybe I'm a fancy VC and you're pitching the Prowess Project to me. What's your, and I'm sure by now, after you've been doing this for a few years, you've got the elevator pitch ready, as they say. What is the elevator pitch for Prowess Project?
We connect CEOs who are really ready to scale, who want to be the face of the business, who want to go out and grow with women who are pivoting in their career and are online business managers. So think about your number two, your cross between the COO and a virtual assistant. They come in and run your business while the CEO goes and grows the business.
What kind of companies is this for? If you could, like, do you have particular verticals that you specialize in, or does it run the gamut?
We started with solopreneurs. So with the pandemic, we saw a ton of people wake up and be like, oh God, this job is lucrative, but it sucks. And so then they became a consultant and they're like, this is awesome. I love doing this, but I don't want to run the business aspect of it. I just want to go consult. And so there was this big gap for needing that fractional number two to, again, go do all the operations, all of the systems, all of the payroll, all of that, but also be strategic as well. And so that's really where we fit. So started off with solopreneurs, then we have some micro agencies who come to us, and then also some scaling tech companies who their COO needs a right-hand woman.
Wow, okay. And so the idea of this person, share the vernacular, like who are they? Like what do you call them? Like what do you name these folks that are part of the Prowess Project and then work for other companies?
Yes, these are online business managers.
Okay.
And they are the cross between the COO and the VA, and their job is to be that right hand. And a lot of people say to us, well, Ashley, what's the difference between an OBM and a VA? And I love that question. A virtual assistant takes tasks and executes. An online business manager takes your vision and strategizes. So it's two very different mindsets, two very different skills. And most importantly, one is super proactive and one is more reactive.
You know, the one thing when you tell me OBM and you have the acronym, it's like the word manager is sort of now frowned upon. Like, no, like you always hear about like, be a leader, don't be a manager, because managers, like you kind of said, alluded to, like check the boxes. So how do you elevate these managers from being managers? Because I think for most people, the mindset of a manager is like, tell me all the tasks you need me to do today. I'll make sure the team executes them. But in your level with the Prowess Project, it's a little more than a typical manager.
Yes, because of the type of companies that we're helping. They're not typically large enough to have a ton of people that this one person is simply managing. This OBM has to execute too. A lot of them were women who were director level and above and wanted that time for family and a career. And so what they said is, I'm so sick of being in meetings all day long. I want to get my hands dirty, but I also am so strategic. I've been around the block. I've seen some shit. Like, I want to implement that too. So it's really this middle ground for a lot of women who have what they call a patchwork quilt-like background. Some ops, some sales, some tech, some marketing, and they piece it all together to be these rock star OBMs.
That's awesome. And it's funny because I'm seeing a lot of companies similar to yours that offer different services. There was one person I spoke to who offer like CFO. So if you didn't want to have a full-time CFO, you can go to this company. They'll connect with someone to be your CFO stuff, whatever that is. So how did you come to find out that this gap needed to be filled? Was this a personal thing where you noticed like, wait a minute, this in these smaller companies, we don't have that person? Because I feel like a lot of times entrepreneurs are, I always call the entrepreneur conundrum, find a problem, fix a problem. How did you find that problem?
Great question. So pre-Prowess Project, I had a marketing agency with two other partners, and we made every single mistake in the book. We were three visionaries with no integrator. It was all idea, no one who was doing the work. So one of the partners, his wife, was taking time off of the workforce. She masters in counseling, #1 salesperson at Merck, had run ops for some other businesses and couldn't get back into the workforce because she had a gap. So she started working for us and was doing all the operations for us. And I started talking to her one day and I was like, well, why are you working for us? Like, look at your background. You could do amazing things. And she's like, Ashley, I can't get back in. The bias, because I took time off to be a mom, is preventing me from even getting an interview. So hopped on to Harvard Business Review, found the statistic that 43% of educated, experienced women are pushed out of the workforce because they don't have access to childcare. And then when they try to return 3 years later, they lose 37% of their comp forever. But 97% of them would return if they had access to flexible jobs. So that woman, Leah, is now our COO, huge inspiration of Prowess Project. And we built Prowess to solve my problem as the CEO who needed the ops help, and her problem of being this capable woman who needed the flexible, empowering job. And so that's our marketplace.
Interesting. So walk me through this wave that you kind of rode here, because obviously you've been doing this for a while, but then all of a sudden the pandemic comes and everyone's like, we love remote work. All the tech companies, everybody go home. We never want you coming back in the office. This is great. Then all of a sudden they're like, oh no, we want everyone to come back in the office. So how has that affected what you did? Because I can imagine during the pandemic, it was like, oh yes, a company like yours is very appealing to all of a sudden folks who are open to the idea of having someone working virtually for them. So walk me through before the pandemic, during, and now as it appears in terms of our awkward relationship with remote work.
So March 1st, 2020, the amount of no's that I got when I was speaking to CEOs when I told them that we only provide remote OBMs. I mean, it was just no. I need someone right next to me. I need them to be in person. I need butts and seats. Then what was it, March 9th? of 2020. Completely different conversation. Immediately, people were coming to us for two main reasons. Well, three. One, because all of these women were trained in remote work. They'd been doing it for a while. So they knew like, oh my gosh, I could already have someone who knows how to do it. And then this OBM could then go train my entire company on how. The second is we do a ton of work in compatibility matching with emotional intelligence factors. And it is even more critical for a team and teammates to show empathy when you're in a remote setting than it is in person. And so that was really, really huge. And then the third is we match you with 3 candidates, each with a compatibility score within 3 to 4 days of your first conversation with us. So it was speedy and still is that you can get your candidate in the door.
So you were blowing up during the pandemic. You started, those no's became yeses. So now we're recording this in the fall of 23. What is it like now? Is it now you're kind of splitting the difference? You're not as many no's, but not as many yeses because of this awkward relationship with remote work?
No. So I was just looking at the numbers, and September will be our most impactful month ever. And when we measure impact, it is how many OBMs do we have placed in jobs they love, and how many women do we have in our training program right now who are becoming online business managers. And I mean, we 3x last month. So it's growing exponentially. But that was a huge lesson for us in the power of niching down. So when we started Prowess, we were not focused on just online business managers. It was one offering, but then we tried to grow or expand way too quickly. So you needed a fractional marketing person, we could help you find the fractional marketing person. You need an HR person, we could help you find it. Tech, got it. No, we didn't have it. No. And so we weren't making the matches that we knew we could. So this time last year was really scary. We had to take a step back and look at, hey, what was our most successful, impactful matches? And it was just over and over again. We were like, it was our OBMs. And so we got really clear and focused on just that, gave up 50 to 60% of our revenue. And now here we are a year later, best decision we've ever made in our business.
Wow. So it's almost like you went through what the tech companies did during the pandemic. Let's hire everybody. Who's got a pulse?
We did.
You want to work in tech, you can do it. And then you kind of realize as well that it didn't work that way, huh?
Exactly.
So if I was a company that needed an OBM, walk me through the process. You mentioned the fact that you get 3 candidates, but like, do they just go on a website, sign up? Can you kind of just go how that whole process works on your end?
Sure. Yeah. You hop onto our website. We would have, or you schedule a meeting. So we would have probably 15, 30-minute conversation so that we understand that everyone is a fit here. You in fact, do need an OBM, not a VA, not a fractional COO, and that we would be a good fit just from a mission and vision and value standpoint. So then from there, we have our consult call, 45 minutes. All of those questions were designed by a behavior scientist because we are really intentional about the culture and the fit that we put our online business managers into businesses. So from that, we then send you a summary of what we heard, and you say yes, no, or add this. You do 2 work style assessments that take 10 minutes. Send that over to us within 3 or 4 business days. We send you those top 3. You decide, do I want to interview them? Yep, I do. Okay, interview and then hire. So you could have your person from first talking to us to 2 weeks later, they're in the door.
That's pretty cool. And in terms of length of their stay, I don't know, I'm stupid. I can't live it. Like, how long do these OBMs stay with companies? Is it sort of like for chunk periods? Do they stay? Is it long term? What's sort? I guess it could go in many different directions. But what do you see it most times?
It does go in a lot of different directions. We see that because of the role of an online business manager, so that CEO's right-hand woman, number 2, what have you, they become extremely ingrained in the business. So we see that the contracts last for a while at probably 10 to 20-ish hours a week. So it's still a fractional person, but because you love what they do and They help you get to the next level when scaling your business. They become indispensable.
Wow. And have you had, I'm sure you have, someone be like trying to pilfer one of your OBMs? You're like, hey, listen, this person's just amazing. They're a rock star. I need them as a full-time member of our team. I can't imagine that not happening.
Yes, of course it has. And we're happy. I mean, as long as the OBM's happy with that, that's a win-win. And so we would just transition it from a part-time retainer to a full-time placement.
That's cool. All right, so let's talk about from the OBM side. If you're this candidate you were talking about that has the gap in the resume, career pivots, family, what have you, how do they fill out an application, become a potential OBM for Prowess Project?
Hop onto our website. We have a training program. So it is about 60 hours long where we are teaching you exactly how to be an online business manager, what that means, getting into the psyche of your client, and then also how to run your own business, how to get your own clients. As they're going through that training, we're gathering hundreds of data points on skill, expertise, communication style, emotional intelligence. And that is how we gather all of that data for our matching algorithm. Then from there, once they finish the coursework and take the test, they are entered into our job pool and we become a pipeline of potential candidates for them.
And I said one of the stats you put out there was that today 70% of the trained women get hired within 3 months, which is a lot faster for a lot of folks when they're looking for jobs, especially when they have these gaps. What's the secret sauce to that? Sorry for using a cliche business term, but like, how are you able to pull that off? Because that's a pretty good number.
It's because we focus so much on the fit. I think that recruiting is a little broken right now, where oftentimes you apply for an accounting job because you've been an accountant before. That's a fraction of what's really needed to be a successful member of the team. And because we are taking data and holistically pairing the two together, the CEOs are very clearly and very quickly getting their top 3 candidates. And so everything seems very seamless and the trust is there. Because from the OBM standpoint, they trust us because we vet the CEOs who come to us just as much as we vet the OBMs who we're placing with the CEOs. So there's a ton of trust there.
That's so cool. One thing that I found interesting was the fact that HR and recruiting, you mentioned it was broken. And I feel like in a way it's improved from what I understand, because years ago, it was that model of you want an accounting job, you have to have had an accounting job before that. The idea of transferable skills was, no joke, was laughable to HR and recruitment. Like they didn't think that was an actual thing. Like transferable skills was like saying, the sky is, green.
Right.
But now, because of the pandemic, the much debated war on talent and the quiet quitting and all that stuff, you are seeing that shift a little bit. I mean, I'm sure not in a lot of positions, but you are seeing the shift. So talk to me about the skills that the folks that you have a part of the Project Prowess, who not necessarily maybe worked for this type of company, but they have that skill set to do the role at a company that they may not have had, if it was like tech or healthcare or whatever, what have you. What could it be?
So most of them have worked in at least 3 to 4 different industries, which really has a nod to that patchwork quilt, which a lot of our CEOs absolutely love because they're coming in with such a broad view and lots of new ideas. To answer your question, the traits that we see that makes a great online business manager is first being super proactive. This is the person who looks at your calendar the next day and starts writing your PowerPoint or drafting your PowerPoint because she knows that you're not going to have time for it. This is the problem solver who wouldn't dream of coming to you with a problem. She comes to you with, hey, this is what happened. I've already reviewed solutions. This is what I think I'm going to go do. Hey, I'm going to go do it unless you say absolutely not. It's those type things. Those are the 2 that come to mind immediately, aside from what we talked about earlier, is that empathy, that emotional intelligence, that communication, because typically an OBM is the glue of the business. The CEO needs to go out and spread the word and or do the art or do the consulting or whatever it is. The OBM oftentimes is managing the business systems, managing the business in general, and managing the other people in the team. So really, they're the glue. They need to understand how to flex their communication style to whomever they're speaking to.
I've often said, Ashley, that most of my skills are intangible, not tangible.
Yeah.
I mean, people say I do, but I think most of my best skills are intangible. And you're describing like this go-getter, this someone who's going to check up on things. You can't put that in a resume. So how do you know that? How do you do it?
Exactly. Well, that was the massive problem. And so my background is in tech marketing. And so I grew up is not the right word, but kind of in my professional career around algorithms and matching and the power of data. And again, when I got to looking at this problem of how I was going to match these women who quite frankly are untapped talent, but truly underdogs with the CEOs who need them, I mean, it was completely obvious that they had all of these intangibles. So how was I going to extract that into data and then make it so that a CEO understands how valuable it could be? So that's why we had to create our own tech platform in order to do that.
Yeah, that sounds really hard because I feel like the intangibles of what this position requires is so much more than having a skill set. So that's why I was wondering how you figured that out. Because I argue with folks like this, people in my business all the time. Like I come from a background in radio, and I was dealt with talent, and the word talent was different from the talent we talk about today in terms of business. But like this mindset of treating talent differently and having to always think 2 steps ahead, having to circle back on things. And I think people, for whatever reason, many of them just can't handle that. They're like, what's my job? What do I do? Cool. Do I do my job good? That's fine. But that other stuff, the stuff that, again, I was talking about, the intangible stuff, it seems so hard, but it's amazing you were able to do it with a piece of technology. That to me sounds almost unbelievable. I mean, it's believable, but it sounds unbelievable to me.
Well, I appreciate that. It's technology, but also part of the community and the brand and the content that we're putting out there. We attract certain people. We attract the people who want to work hard. We attract the people who know that they have these intangible skills. We attract the people who are like, wow, I am so underutilized right now, and I want all of this in one career. And so because we do so much content on that, because we give away so many free resources and that, they come to us.
And in terms of scaling up, how would you, I mean, I'm sure you've thought of this, but like how would you scale up a company like Prowess Project? What would that entail? Would it mean having more boots on the ground, spreading the word, marketing? Like where do you see it in sort of incremental, like I like to call the innocent climb? Where do you see that sort of scale up happening? Where would it begin?
It would begin on the online business manager side and spreading the word about that, because this term is it's new. We need to do more education on that. But what we're seeing is women get it. Like when we are attracting the right OBMs, the word of mouth is insane. Because think about it, a lot of these are caregivers or moms. You tell a mom a good product and she's telling 18 of her mom friends. And so we have a huge opportunity on all of the coursework and training and really growth on that side of the business. And then two, on just making our tech better and better and better. And just because we are matching online business managers with CEOs right now, we absolutely could then do VAs and then do salespeople, but in a slower, more controlled way.
You learned your lesson.
The first time. Yes, exactly.
And lastly, every successful entrepreneur needs a story, a success story. Do you have one you can share, whether it's from the company side or whether from the OBM side, that you care to share before we sign off here?
Yeah. So started Prowess because, again, I wanted to solve my, at the time, future problem of how I was going to have kids in a career. I am thrilled to tell you that I have a 2-year-old girl, and she is by far the biggest success story from Prowess because she will not have to deal with the gender inequities that women nowadays do.
Wow, that's awesome. Her name is Ashley Connell. She's the CEO and founder of Prowess Project. Ashley, thanks so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure.
And that'll do it for another episode of the Forbes Books podcast. Don't forget to hit subscribe. That way you'll get new episodes as soon as they're available. And if you have a spare moment, I would greatly appreciate it if you could leave a review, which would help other exceptional entrepreneurs like you discover the show. You can always connect with me on X, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Joe Pardavila and TikTok at J Pardavila. And please, don't forget the golden rule and treat others as you want to be treated. Thanks for listening. Until next time, adios.